probably the only person who could ever convince me to set a bunch of termites loose in the library.
Thank you.
Dr. Eleanor Spicer Rice. Dr. Eleanor earned her PhD in entomology from NC State, where she focused on interactions between ant species. Through her writing, she shares the joy and wonder she finds in the natural world. She's the award-winning author of numerous books ranging in topics from ants to microbes to pets to apex predators. She's been featured on too many radio and television programs to count, and writes and creates content for a wide variety of publications, including the wonderful North Carolina Naturally series for our state magazine. And she's done presentations to audiences of all ages across the country, and I get her to come to the library every chance I possibly can get, so I'm really glad that she's here tonight. So please welcome me in join me.
Well, I'll welcome you.
Dr. Eleanor.
Thanks, guys. Hey. Yeah, did we turn that off? You think so? Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate it. I did turn termites loose in y'all's library, and it was so much fun that when I went to the National Book Festival, I asked them if we could turn termites loose at the National Book Festival, and they said, "Are you crazy or just weird?" And they wouldn't let me do it. And I was like, "But they let me do it." And it was nice, wasn't it? I'm really grateful to all of you for coming here tonight, and I really wish that y'all could just stand up here for 1 second and look at all these wonderful people who I admire and love and try to be like. And I'm so thankful that you made time on this rainy night to come and see me and hear me talk about weird stuff. Thank you, and thank you. Okay, thank you all. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to eavesdrop on animals and what that means about how you're going to save the world, and there's just no pressure on that, but there's a little bit of pressure on that. And before we talk about it, I want to tell you that outside, if you haven't gotten it, I write this column for our state called North Carolina Naturally. Our state's a North Carolina magazine. And y'all really show up for me with our state when y'all share the stories on the internet, and when you repost and you like it. That actually means a whole lot, and our state knows that about Goldsboro, that y'all show up for me and they recognize it. And I asked them if they could have something for you tonight. So they sent a bunch of stuff out there. Please take as much as you want, because they have it just for you. And one thing that they have made just for you that I like is a special seed blend that you can plant. It's a wildflower blend. It was made by a horticulturalist and a pollination ecologist. And these are native flowers across North Carolina that grow naturally across North Carolina. And they should grow. They should grow. And they should be really pretty. So pick up as many as y'all want, please, and put them somewhere. And just whenever you go out, don't feel bad about taking extra. I always take extra. Okay, now let's talk about how to eavesdrop on animals. And the reason we're talking about how to eavesdrop on animals is because I asked Miss Brow what we were talking about, and she said people like pets. And I wrote about pets. I'm an entomologist, but I wrote about pets because I wrote this series of books about things that happen all around us all the time that we might not be able to see unless we know what we're looking for. And the book started with this one, which is about microbes. And I got a National Science Foundation grant to write this book, and it got published through Candlewick and MIT Kids. And I had zero interest in writing this book whatsoever, but I also wanted money, so I said yes. And when I started writing it, I was shocked by what I found out. So a microbe is any living thing that is too small for you to see with your naked eye. So if you take your hair, like a strand of hair, those of you who have hair, and you cut it the lengthwise, that is about the most you can see without a microscope. So anything that's alive that's smaller than that is a microbe. And they basically control everything in the world. They outnumber your human cells on your body. By the most conservative estimate is we're about 50-50. Some people say they outnumber us 10-1. They're your first line of defense against disease. They make neurotransmitters in your stomach, which are the chemicals that your brain make to talk, and they can control how you feel based on what you feed them. They're really running your life, and you don't know it. And I only learned it because I wrote a children's book about it, and it blew my mind. But then I had to write 2 more books about it, about things that happen around us. So these are the books that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what I've learned from writing these books is that you look at things that you see all the time, and then you find out there's a lot more to the story. So, he said this is just going to go off and on the whole time. So we just have to deal emotionally with this. So what I've learned is, even though we live with our dogs and our cats all day long and we stare at them constantly, there's a lot more going on than we realize. And it's the same thing with the animals in our yard or the animals in our house. So what I want to do is I want to teach you 4 ways that you can eavesdrop on things that are living around you so that you can listen in on their conversations and become this lady. And you are welcome. So here we go. Are you ready? We're going to talk about pets first. I want to tell you something about cats, and I want to tell you something about dogs. And I'm going to start with dogs. Oh, but first I need to tell you about pets. We've been keeping pets for about 15,000 years, okay? And it's really hard to believe, looking at our dogs, that the things that we do this to ever were wild animals. But the truth is, every dog we have still has a little bit of wolf inside of them. And every cat we have still thinks that they are a lion just prowling the Serengeti. And if you look at some of the things that they do that seem really weird, a lot of times it can be traced back to what they were doing when they used to be wild a long time ago. So here's the thing about dogs. First of all, they're very cute. I want to teach you how to eavesdrop on something that I call the bathroom dance, okay? But to understand the bathroom dance, we need to understand dogs' senses, because their senses are way different than ours. They experience the world in a totally different way than we do. Their vision, this is what they can see, their vision here. They can't see all the colors that we can see, but their night vision is fantastic. They can see in the dark really, really well. They can also hear frequencies that we can't hear. Their hearing is about 4 times better than ours. It's more acute, and well, if my dad's in here, it's like 90 times better than your hearing. So he was at the doctor, we were waiting at the doctor, and I said, "Daddy, how's your hearing?" And he said, "Where are my earrings?" He doesn't use context clues. So they can hear bats flying in the air. We can't hear this stuff. They hear stuff that's way outside of our auditory range. And their sense of smell, some breeds have a sense of smell that is over 100,000 times better than what we can smell. Bloodhounds can smell 1 drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. They can smell stuff at that dilution, which is pretty fantastic, and it's amazing. But one sense that we thought that they might have that we don't have, but they didn't know, was whether they could detect Earth's electromagnetic field. We can't do that, so we have a hard time asking animals if they can do that. And one of the ways that we learn that they can is by watching them go to the bathroom, okay? Here's how it goes, all right? This is a little bit complicated, but you know when you take, how many people have dogs or have had a dog? Okay, a lot of people have. Okay, some of you Badors do not have dogs. We'll talk about cats in a minute. So when you take a dog to go to the bathroom, you see that they kind of turn one way, and then they turn another way, and then they turn another way, and then you're like, it's raining, will you go to the bathroom? And then they stop and go to the bathroom, and it seems random, right? Well, it turns out that it is not random at all. The dog is aligning its body with the north-south axis of Earth's electromagnetic field. Let's go a little bit deeper as soon as the light comes back on. There we go. So Earth has this molten core of iron in the middle of it. It's really hot, and it's very pressurized, and it cools and melts along the edges. This is way more than you need to know in your life, but let's pretend like this is something you're interested in. So as it cools and melts, it makes an electromagnetic field that goes across the Earth. It's wonderful. It keeps our atmosphere intact. It protects us from solar flares, and it helps us to have compasses, and a lot of creatures use it to navigate. Sharks, birds have metals in their eyes. We think this is one of the ways that the monarchs can make their last gasp going all the way back to Mexico and back up north. And a ton of different other creatures use the field to navigate. We thought dogs might be able to, but we weren't really sure. And the reason we thought they might be able to is because they can come home from really long distances. So this is Bobby the Wonder Dog. At one point in his life, he used to just be called Bobby, and because he wasn't wondrous yet. So Bobby's family went on vacation a long time ago. They lived in Oregon, and they went on vacation in Indiana. When it was time to leave, they were like, "Where's Bobby?" "Oh, never mind." Oh, that just reminded me of those Goldsboro commercials. "Where is Bobby?" From the Bobby Denning. This is the only room of people who know who Bobby Denning is. Oh, he's down by the dryers, marking down prices. Okay, so Bobby, they couldn't find him. And so they just left him there in Indiana and went home. And a few months later, Bobby shows up at their door. And they let him in. I don't know why you would go back to that family. He doesn't understand. But he did. And they think that he walked more than 2,500 miles without a map to get home. So that would be like you going on vacation in Seattle and your family leaving you there and you thinking, well, I guess I'll just walk home, and walking all the way home as the crow flies from Seattle is pretty wild. And so they thought, well, how did Bobby and the other dogs do this? And maybe it's Earth's electromagnetic field, but it's hard to test. Now, when animals do sense the field, they feel more comfortable lining their bodies up with the north-south axis. Cows and deer can sense the field. So sometimes, many of us see deer around here when they're at rest. If there are no solar flares, you drive by a cow pasture, you come on some deer standing in a field, they're often standing in the same direction. If you start noticing which way they're standing, it's usually facing north or facing south. We don't know why it makes them feel comfortable, it just does. So let's go back to dogs going to the bathroom. There were some actual people who got paid money to watch dogs go to the bathroom. And they watched them for a long time, and they found out that 9 times out of 10, if the atmospheric conditions are not having any solar flares, the dogs are going to the bathroom with the north-south axis of Earth's electromagnetic field. And I said, that's crazy. And then I started watching my dog go to the bathroom, and it's real. So now watch your dogs go to the bathroom. If it's not an emergency and there's nothing wild happening, this can be your new hobby because you can eavesdrop on what they're doing. You're welcome. You came here for useful information, and I've got it. Okay, the next thing I want to tell you about, a little bit about dogs, is about their tail wagging. Because anybody who has dogs or anybody who watches dogs knows that wagging the tail is not the same. You know, if a tail is up, they're alert, they're excited, they're looking around, they're noticing. If they tuck their tail under, they probably are frightened, or they're playing. When they get the zoomies, they'll tuck their tail under, right? Well, it gets a lot deeper than that, okay? Here's the thing. All right, this is the magnetic core situation first. It goes back to just like people, dogs have the left brain and the right brain, okay? The left brain is associated with those positive emotions, that curiosity, the calm feeling, okay? Their right brain is associated with fear and stress and threat, okay? The left brain, just to make it confusing, controls the left brain, controls the right side of the body, the right brain controls the left side of the body. Now let's talk about their tails, okay? If a dog is wagging its tail in the helicopter style, which is my favorite, that's all the way around, that means that you are their favorite person and they love you and they could not be happier to see you, okay? Now, if a dog is wagging its tail to the right, it's connected to those good feelings of the left brain. I keep touching the wrong side of my head, but I'm just hoping you can follow this. So if they wag their tail to the right, they're curious and alert and open to seeing you. And if they wag their tail to the left, they're nervous, they're not sure about what's going to happen, and they might bite you, okay? So a lot of times you think, oh, they're wagging their tail, they're fine. Well, the truth is you need to watch to see which way, just to make sure, because it's not coming out of nowhere. And when other dogs watch dogs wag their tail, so they had a dog set up, this is how you know you can do anything in life. So these people got people's dogs, and they put a TV screen up, and they showed them videos of dogs wagging their tails. If the watcher saw somebody wagging their tail to the left, they tested the chemicals in that dog's body, and the watcher dog had stress chemicals going out through the roof. If the dog watched another dog wag its tail to the right, those calm and happy chemicals were flooding that dog's body. So this is not just a signal to us, we can eavesdrop on it, but it's really a signal to other dogs about how things can feel. And this tail wagging can influence other dogs at a chemical level, which I think is kind of wild. Okay, now for cats. This one's for you, Badors. I remember y'all used to have a cat named Lovely, because it came to you and it was named Ugly, and y'all sort of rhymed. I liked it. So this is what we're calling the royal fist bump, and this is about cats. We've been keeping cats for about 10,000 years, and it's impossible for us to live with something else that long without developing behaviors and reactions to each other because we've been intertwined for that long. And so one thing that cats do is they do this fist bump. Now we think that cats are aloof and they don't pay attention to us at all. But when we look more into what cats can do, they can learn every single name that you give them. They learn your name. They learn the names of other people. And they can learn many commands. And they are especially good at detecting emotions. They don't know how, but cats can tell if you're sad. If you're sad, does anybody have a cat who has cats? Okay, so when you're sad, have you noticed that cats can come up and bump you? Have you ever had them give you a little head bump like this? So what happens is, this goes back to being in the wild. This is a way of bonding between cats that have to sometimes depend on social interactions. So when they give each other a head bump, they've got scent chemicals right here, and so they're rubbing their scent on each other, but they're also relaxing each other. And so when they bump each other's head, they start to feel good, and so it's called allogrooming, and they do this a lot in the wild, and they do that to you. But what they've trained you to do is, when the cat bumps you, what do you do instinctively? Do you know? You reach out, do you pet it? That's right, you reach out and pet it. So they started taking the chemicals from people who were petting their cats, and they found that when the cat bumps you and you pet it, you start releasing these feel-good chemicals in your body that mimic what antidepressants are like. When you start releasing those chemicals, the cat starts releasing the same chemicals in her body. And it becomes this feedback loop of feeling better and better and better. So cats literally can make you feel better if you're sad, which I think some of you probably already know that. Now, one thing Ms. Brow was telling me about was the eye blinks, and I just wanted to bring it up. Most of this research, so she was telling me that when cats look at you, if they really love you, they'll start blinking their eyes at you. So people have been saying this for hundreds of years, that cats will blink their eyes at you if they're in love. But nobody has studied it until the last 2 years. And what they found is that cats will blink their eyes at you if they're in love. So people were actually right. And so what happens is, if a cat's really happy to see you, they'll give you the slow blink, this very slow blink, and you blink back at them whether you want to or not. I know that you do, because I've seen people doing this all the time. So what they think is happening is that this goes back to their ancestral nature, where sustained eye contact is threatening. And so when they blink their eyes at you, they're saying, I'm not afraid of you. And they will actually go to strangers more often who are blinking at them, in case any of you are looking to get one of Wayne County's stray cats. They will come to you more often if you blink at them than if you're staring at them trying to get them to come to you. So it's a signal to cats that you're okay too. You're showing them that you don't find them to be threatening. Okay, now those are your pets. We can talk about other pets too, but I want to tell you a couple of things about your yard, and then I have to tell you how you're going to save the world. So I want to tell you about 2 creatures that you have living around you all the time, and stuff that we've just found out about them. And the first one I'm going to tell you about is turtles. Because forever we thought that turtles were just these quiet, sweet little ploppy animals that live all around, okay? Well, that's because we were not listening to them properly. This guy's name is Gabriel. Gabriel grew up with turtles, and in the last 3 years, he decided to start listening to them in other ways to see if he could hear them. And he found out they communicate not outside of our auditory range, they're talking in infrasound. So ultrasound is where bats communicate, those high pitches. Infrasound is way down low, okay? And he studied 50 different species of turtles, and every single one of them was talking a lot. And infrasound is great, because if you're a turtle and you're living in a muddy pond, you can't see everybody else. But what you can do is talk to them all day, and you can hear them, and they have excellent hearing. Elephants use infrasound to send long-distance phone calls. If they need to call somebody far away, they start talking in infrasound, and it can be heard 6 miles away. So it's really useful for that kind of stuff and for living in dark ponds. Baby turtles, not just sea turtles, but all baby turtles, when they're hatching, y'all have seen the boils where all the turtles come out at one time. And have you ever thought, how do they know to come out? Well, they're speaking to each other the entire time. They're constantly talking in infrasound to find out, and once they get a quorum, and once they get enough that they're ready to come out, they all boil out at once. They're saying, are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. And then they all boil out at once. Now with sea turtles, they continue talking in infrasound till they get to the ocean, and once they get to the ocean, they call out to their mamas to come and find them, which is great because they don't come back home for about 35 years. So this is a long trip out there. These turtles are red-eared sliders. You see them, I see them all the time on the edges of the county, sitting on ponds looking at stuff. They have, and yellow-eared sliders, they have at least 15 different calls. One of them sounds like a person humming through their nose. One of them sounds like a fingernail tapping on a wooden stick. So they are saying a lot of different things, and they're understanding each other for these things. It's just that we haven't been listening to them properly. Now, a lot of animals communicate through infrasound, and now that we know that turtles do it and elephants do it, we've started listening to other creatures, and it turns out that tons of animals are speaking all the time, and we just weren't listening to them. So these are called black drum. I don't know a lot about fish, but I never thought of them as particularly chatty. But in Florida, these guys were keeping people up at night because you can't hear infrasound, but it's like bass, and it can rattle your foundations. And people thought that for 3 nights in Florida, 3 wild nights in 2 cities, these people thought that they were either being abducted by aliens, that there was construction going on, or that there was a secret rave, because their foundations were all shaking so much in their homes, and they could feel the shaking foundations. But really, it was just a wild black drum sex party, and they were singing like crazy. And so fish, turns out lots of fish talk in infrasound. Giraffes hum their babies to sleep in infrasound, and they hum to each other when they're walking through the trees. So I think that's really cute, and they're really cute. These guys, these are the swallowtail caterpillars. Mr. Nish used to send me pictures of his on his parsley every year. They try to scare you by screaming at you in infrasound, but you can't hear it, so you just pick them up anyway. But they are like, fear me, you don't know, but really it doesn't matter. Okay, this is the last animal I want you to eavesdrop on. This is chickadees. Chickadees are really, really smart, and they are in every single one of your yards. And if you're the film crew at our state magazine's Naturally thing where you are filming nature, they are not chickpeas, they are birds. They don't know what a chickadee is, and it makes me so sad. But everybody has chickadees in their yard. They're very, very common, and they are very, very, very smart. Do you know the call of the chickadee? Can anybody say it? Does anybody know it? You know it. Do it, Dr. Campbell. Come on. Can you do it for us? Is he going to do it? Are you just thinking about it? You're not going to do it. He's just going to stare at me like he's wondering what I'm talking about. So it's just chickadee, chickadee, chickadee-dee-dee. And the thing is, those calls are a lot more than that. They found that chickadees convey so much information in their calls that their calls are akin to a human language, and that they are some of the smartest birds, in human terms of smart, that can possibly live in our yard. So if you look at the chickadee call, just the one chickadee call, they have many calls, the closer the D's are together, the closer physically the threat is to them. So if it's chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee, the threat's very, very close compared to chickadee-dee-dee. And the more D's there are at the call, the bigger the threat is to the bird. Not physically bigger, but the bigger, like a cat versus you or me just stumbling around in the woods. They would have more D's for a cat. And they are so good at gathering information and spreading it out into the world that other species of birds learn their calls and make them the center of mixed species flocks and then eavesdrop on them all the time. And chickadees know that, and they also learn the calls and behaviors of the other birds. So chickadees are food stashers. Every year, each chickadee hides more than 500,000 pieces of food each year. And that's in this late summer, early fall. And each winter and early spring, they find every single piece without missing one. They are really, really good at remembering things. And because they know how the other birds behave, when they go and they find a bird like a robin that doesn't stash food, they're always looking for berries and for worms, they'll keep stashing. But if they find a junco, which is these cute little tooties right there, they'll steal their stashes. So the chickadee will hold on to its food and sneak away and not do anything in front of the juncos and then move back in and hide its food later. So they're pretty wonderful birds. And also they're just really, really cute, and I like to stare at them. Okay, now we need to talk about what this means about how you in particular are going to save the world, because it's important, okay? So here's the problem. There's this thing, this used to be, I used to feel like that about spiders. Okay, so here's the problem. There's this thing called biophobia, or fear of the natural world, and it is on the rise in the United States. Today, about 30% of people in the United States have some sort of fear of the natural world, okay? And that's a problem, because when you're afraid of something, you're less likely to want to take care of it, and you're more likely to want to hurt it, and you're less likely to want to be around it. So it feeds into itself. You're afraid of something, so you don't go outside, so you become more afraid of it, right? And it's a problem for you because being outside in nature has proven health benefits for each one of us that we shouldn't ignore. 20 minutes sitting outside, you can walk your dog like that lady if you want to, or you can just pretend like you're hosing your lawn and drinking your coffee like that dude. I don't care what you do. But 20 minutes outside increases your memory, your concentration, your sleep quality, and it decreases your stress hormones like cortisol, your blood pressure, your heart rate. It's also been shown to alleviate mental confusion for people. So people who are having certain cognitive issues, when you put them outside for 20 minutes a day, it helps to help them bring them back to themselves. So it's really good for you, but it's even better for children. This year I have had such a pleasure and a privilege to talk to thousands of children in the early part of the year for some books I wrote about how everything is going to kill them outside. And what I found is that they're so smart, and they're so curious, and they know so much, and they can tell me everything about Australia, and they can tell me all the sharks that live in the ocean and every single animal in the Amazon, but they can't tell me one thing about what's living in their yard. Not one. And so I wanted to look up to find out why that is. And it turns out that the #1 source of information that children have about the natural world is YouTube. And so that's what they're learning. And they want to know this stuff. They're just not going outside anymore. And that can be a problem for us in the long run. And what I also found, this is a study that came out last year, is that just looking at something will make you not afraid of it, just seeing it in real life. So so the higher the bar is, the more you are afraid of it. This is the light bar is before you see it in real life. The dark bar is after you see it in real life. So for some reason, people are afraid of frogs. I don't get that. I'm afraid of other things, but I don't understand frogs. But these people are this afraid of frogs, and they just see it in real life, and it goes down. And you can see the same thing for earthworms, mealworms. Just looking at it just takes it away. Snakes, they're still creepy at the end of the day. But the rest of the stuff, all you have to do is look at it. It's just that they don't have the opportunity to see it. And this has to do with you and what you've got to do. Because what does it mean that a turtle is singing to its friends in the pond, or that your dog is using the bathroom with Earth's electromagnetic field? To me, what it means is that each of us is surrounded by mysteries and filled with mysteries, the answers to which are more fantastical than our imaginations would allow us to concede. And they belong to us. And, you live in the thick of all of these mysteries. This is your home. This is where you live. And you live in a place that is scientifically proven to have more plants and animals that live here and only here than almost any place on earth. That's where you live. You live in a place with a state park with 3 birding trail sites for the state of North Carolina. That's pretty amazing. You live in a state that has 2 times the forested area of the rest of the country. We are amazing here. And this is your county. This is our county. And so what are we going to do with it? Because what I found, the last time I came here, I had a little thing, and it was like, what can you do about climate change? And I had some answers, and that was great. Well, that was 8 years ago or 9 years ago. And what I've learned since then is that I am not going to solve climate change, and you're not, and you're not, and you're not, and you're not, and nobody in here is going to solve that issue. And the reason that we're not going to solve it is because we are humans, and we did not evolve to solve large-scale global issues that were caused by countless decisions by countless people. We can't do that. We don't have it in us to do that. What we evolved to do is to work in groups of about 150 to 300 people with a core group of about 20 people. And we evolved to take care of each other and to take care of our place. And what separates you and me from the ants that are fighting out on the sidewalk every day with such a tremendous culture and such a huge amount of social organization, those ants really do have that. And if you want me to talk about it, you don't, but I will. But what separates us from them, and what separates us from the chimpanzees slapping each other all the time out in the, Africa, what separates us from all of that is that each of us has a different group, and each of us has a slightly different place. So if we can take care of each other, and we can take care of our space, this can spread, and it can grow. Because this is your inheritance, and it's also going to be your legacy. So we get to choose how much we're going to leave. Okay, that's all I had to say. Oh no, I have a 2-second favor. Because where do you start? I forgot about this. Here's my 2-second favor, okay? This is a habit, a forming habit. Whenever you go outside and you're walking to the car tonight, or you're walking, going to the grocery store, look at something in the natural world. I don't care what it is. It could be a worm. I put a robin here because my best friend Robin is here. If y'all see her, say hey to her. And I want you to look at it for 2 seconds. This is 2 seconds. That's all that takes. And tell yourself something you know about it, or ask yourself a question about it. I could say, hey, that's a robin, has a black head, must be a male. Or I could say, what's he doing here this late at night? Ask yourself a question about it, or tell yourself something about it. And bonus points, if you're walking with somebody, don't be creepy. Pick something normal first, okay? And point it out to them. Oh, hey, look, there's a robin over there. And get them to look. Because 2 seconds is all that it takes to incorporate something into your memory, for you to help see things around. Bonus points if you have a child. Because it turns out they've taken, here in North Carolina, they've done studies on life satisfaction of people as they've gotten older. And people who have either a hobby in the natural world or a career in the sciences have higher salaries, higher job outcomes, higher graduation rates, and higher life satisfaction. You don't have to have a career in it. You could just have a hobby doing it. So they went back to those people and they said, how much money did you have when you were born? And they marked down, what race are you? And they marked down all of these things to find out how they could get more people to feel better about themselves as they got older. And what they found was every single one of them, to the letter, had some adult when they were younger that showed them something that they loved about the natural world. It could have been a grandparent who had a bird feeder. My grandmother had a bird feeder and didn't know the birds. And I had fake names for birds until I was in college because I didn't know she was making it up. It could be an uncle who hunts. It could be a dad who looks at the stars. It could be my dad who just likes to wander around outside. It could be any of that. And I know that y'all are already doing that because I see what y'all are doing. So keep doing that, because these, or somebody's got a beautiful grandson that likes to look at ants. And they don't care about ants, but they let him sit under the tree and stare at them all the time. That's a big deal. These are small things that actually are having major payoffs later in life. So that's my 2-second favor that lasted about 10 minutes to tell you. Now, if I want to answer questions, we can talk about bugs or anything you want. If you want to email me, there's a little thing here. You just go to spicerrice.com and you can email me. And if you want to just follow the erratic somebody trying to have a social media feed, you're welcome to. But truly, if you don't feel comfortable asking a question here and you want to ask me later, that's fine. I get it all the time. Or if you're a teacher also and your students have questions, I'll answer all of their questions. Okay, does anybody have questions? Nobody has. Yes, the reporter does.
We don't have a microphone.
Oh, wait, oh, I got one. Hey, no, I have to get around that thing because if I walk in front of the speaker, it's upsetting. Oh, you've got one too. Look at all these people helping. This is what I'm saying, taking care of everything.
We can cover each side of the room. That's right. Here's Jack to the rest. Jack to the rescue as usual.
Yeah, as usual.
I've read a lot about how bees communicate with each other, about
Yes.
where the pollen is and other ways. What other groups like that? Do ants communicate in ways like that?
Yes, any animal that lives in some sort of, has to be around another animal, has a form of communication. So she said that bees talk to each other, and they do. They tell each other where everything is. They have elections sometimes where they vote for stuff by having dance-offs against each other, and whoever's the best dancer wins. It's wonderful. Ants communicate primarily through chemicals. So every ant has a chemical that on its body, and it's like their barcode. And so when you see them tapping each other on the head, they're basically scanning their barcode and comparing it to themselves to see how similar they are. And if they're even a little bit off, they'll start fighting each other. So they use chemicals, when you watch them use their trails, that's the chemical that they lay on the ground to go find food and back from food. They use chemicals to say they're frightened. They use chemicals to say they're calm. They use tons and tons of different types of chemicals to communicate. They have terrible vision, ants do. But lots of other animals communicate too. Many of the insects that we know of use chemicals to communicate, and then other creatures use voices and colors. Birds use colors to communicate with each other. So the possibilities are endless.
Ellen,
Yes, sir.
talk a little bit more about why where we live, Wayne County in particular, is diverse or maybe different.
It would be my pleasure. I love this place so much. And my poor husband's back there, and I want you to see I really am married to him, because somebody asked me if I was having marital problems because I come here so much. But he's right there. I love you, Greg. So this place is part of what is called a global biodiversity hotspot. And it has been recognized globally as a place that has more life, abundance of life, diversity of life, and life that can only live here than almost anywhere else on Earth. So other global biodiversity hotspots are the Horn of Africa. Madagascar is a global biodiversity hotspot, the Andean Mountains. So if you think about all those magical places that you will pay tons of money to go travel and see, and that I want to see as well, we have things like that here if you start looking for them. And something about where we are right now, and they've done studies, and for every $1 you put into things like our park system, your park system is out of this world here. I brought people to this park from all over the planet. I mean, from Japan, from Australia, from New Zealand. I mean, everywhere has come to look at your ants. And it's wonderful. And for every $1 you put into that, the community sees a $6 benefit coming out of protecting our natural areas and our parks. So you live in a truly, truly special place. And I love it. And I know that y'all probably love it too, except for some people who send me pictures of their roaches. Y'all might not like it as much. Yes?
Okay, Eleanor. Hey, by the way, I don't know if
Hey.
you remember me, Jeff Williams. I work with your mom.
Oh my God! Look at you! Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna squeeze you after this.
Oh, okay, no
Okay.
problem. So my friends will tell you that I had a bad ant problem a couple of years ago. Not family ants, but ants. And that I tried everything I could to get rid of them without resorting to extreme measures. And then finally one night it was just, they gotta
Too
go.
much.
There's way too many of them. If something like this were to happen again, what is the best way to encourage them to go without having to commit, I don't know, anticide?
Anticide,
Yeah.
formicide. Well, first of all, I'm not above killing your ants, but you have to do it properly. It depends on what kind of ant you have. There's somebody in here that probably doesn't want me to talk about their ant problem that has little black ants in their house. But what you've got to do first is, if they're upstairs, they're probably one type of ant called a little black ant. They eat protein. So if you put down that taro ant bait, it's not going to kill them. You have to feed them a protein bait. If they're on your kitchen counter, they're probably odorous house ants. And the way that you can tell that they're odorous house ants is if you squish one and sniff it, and it smells like blue cheese, it's an odorous house ant. And they eat sugar. So if you put the ant bait for, the ones upstairs, they're not going to eat the sugar bait downstairs, but the taro liquid ant bait will get rid of them in a heartbeat, but they'll come back because they have super colonies. So you need to find out how they're coming into your house and seal the holes. So you have to follow them. And it's really fun because you'd be surprised where they go. So follow them to see where they're going and then seal the holes. Cut any branches that are touching your house. Try not to use mulch around your house because they nest in the mulch and they will all come in. And because odorous house ants have super colonies, though, you could kill every ant in your yard, but they're still living in your neighbor's yard. And Goldsboro has about 250 different species of ants, but only about 5 or 6 of them actually come into your house and bother you. The rest of them are truly running the world. Did that even answer your question? Okay, I was just so happy to see you. I don't even know if I know what you said.
How do you improve the habitat for fox squirrels?
Oh, I love fox squirrels. So fox squirrels, you have to have a lot of space for them to run. And you have to have nut trees for them to eat. So they really like golf courses a lot because they have trees they can hide in and plenty of places to forage. If you live in a neighborhood, they're not going to want, like a packed-in neighborhood, they're not going to want to come there because they like to have a mixture of open ground with trees to hide in. So my parents will never get fox squirrels in their yard on Mulberry Street, but y'all might get some out. You do? Do you have all the colors? Yeah. They're my favorite mammal in North Carolina. I think they're just wonderful. They're beautiful animals. But yeah, so you have open areas with trees. Yeah, that's what they need. Y'all have everything. Their son has a tortoise too. Yes.
I've got one. There's a group of us, a lot of them are here, walk in the mornings, and when there's a cat that comes out, and he runs to me, I think more than the rest of us. Anyway, is it because I'm blinking my eyes? What was it you said about the cat a while ago?
Are you blinking at him? Yeah, so actually, you know what though? I mean, really it might be because you do kind of look like you're blinking from this distance. It might be. Like cats respond to odor, they respond to hushing sounds, and they respond to the blink. So you just might have the intoxicating mixture that makes him
Thank you very
very
much.
excited to see you. I think Kay Cook has the question too.
In our neighborhood, we're having a troubling relationship with deer.
Oh no.
Beautiful, beautiful deer, but they have really, we're trying to love them, but we're trying to figure out what to do because they're in our yards on a regular basis eating a lot of hosta and impatiens and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
What can we do that's kind?
Well, you can plant stuff that tastes terrible to deer. You can Google it. There's like a whole list of things that smell bad to deer and taste bad to deer. And that might work. Somebody's going to have to cut the population back some once it gets too much. They don't care about fences or anything like that. And this is a non sequitur, but in graduate school, my job for bees, I had to plant 12 fields of watermelon. So I grew them all spring, and I got them all ready. And I hand planted 12 fields of watermelon. And the next day, they were all nipped off, every single little bud, my whole project, my whole summer. And I was crying. And 2 days later, the farm owner came up and he said, you know, I've heard you feeling bad about your watermelons, and I brought you some chili. And I ate the chili, and he said, them deers ain't going to be bothering you no more. All right. Yes.
You have said that Wayne County is a very special, diverse place for the animals. What are we doing or can do to adversely change that?
To adversely change that, development is a big problem. The way that we use chemicals to treat our land is also a big problem. And the way that we choose to raise our livestock, because we have such a wonderful farming tradition here, can be a problem for what poisons the habitat. So those can be things that adversely affect it. Planting even small amounts of planting this in your yard actually can make a huge difference because people can do stuff like that. Contributing to the park system that we already have and increasing our park system also can really help increase the things that we have here. because we've got the rivers, we've got the forest, we've got ancient trees. I mean, we have so many things that so many other places just don't have. We've got in the cliffs, because the altitude is such that we get stuff that only comes to Canada sometimes. I mean, we have weird trees. There's a stream out there that the riparian woods comes this way, and the what are those things called? The cypress comes this way, and it's this clear water, and it just meets with the tanned water and then flows on into the Neuse. I mean, it's incredible, the things that we have out here. But we have to choose how we want to develop it and what parts we want to keep and what parts we want to give away. And that doesn't mean that you have to give up all your dollars all the time, for people who want it to be developers. It just means to choose the way that you do it wisely and thoughtfully. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? We'll probably take another question.
We get fire ants sometimes in our yard, and we have children that love to play outside. And next thing you know, they're doing a little dance.
This is why they're on YouTube.
To get them.
It's the fire ants. Yeah, it keeps them in.
Is there anything we can do, as someone else said, to be kind?
Yeah,
to
well,
help
you
them
have to
move
kill
on?
them. But let me tell you what you do. I'll tell you, there's 2 ways to kill fire ants, okay? The one way that you can do is you get a protein granular bait, all right? That's like fish food that they've impregnated with things that will kill you, and you put it around the nest, not on the nest. You'll see parks, when you go to the parks, people dump it on the nest. They just move. They don't forage on the nest. They forage around the nest. So you can do that, or you can look like a lunatic, but this works. You go out at about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, well, 6 o'clock at night this time of year, and you get a pot of boiling soapy water and a stick, and you stir up the fire ant nest and dump the boiling soapy water on it, and that'll kill them all. The soap washes off their waxes on their skin, and they dehydrate, and it will boil some of them up, but fire ants are really good at floating, so that's why you want to make sure that it's soapy, and you want to make sure it's boiling. The reason it's at 6 o'clock is because fire ants air condition their nests, so they move the whole nest up and down the soil column so that their queen and the brood are at a constant temperature, so they can predict when the eggs are going to hatch, which is dependent on temperature. So at 6 o'clock, the ground is warm enough from the day's sun this late in the year that they push them up closer to the surface, and then that's when you get the most. And you make friends with your neighbors by doing weird stuff.
Eleanor, this has been fantastic.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you
saying
so
that. Thank you. I appreciate this. Thanks. Oh, we have another
do have
question.
one more.
What new book are you working on next?
Oh, well, I have a book coming out. We have a bunch of books about things that'll kill you that came out this year to keep your children even more indoors. And I have a book coming out next year about where animals go when it rains for children. And then I have a book coming out the next year that I wrote with the chief of the Siksika Nation, which is Blackfoot Nation, about the way that Native Americans made scientific inventions that we still use today, like aspirin and baby bottles and hammocks. And so those are the things that I'm working on right now. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right,
Wonderful.
get your seeds, please, and your other stuff. And I really am grateful to y'all for coming.